Hi everyone, we're just about to go live. My name is Tina Gaffney, and I'm sitting here with the fabulous, I said it, I'm going to say it again, fabulous Mike Daniel, who will be talking about a character he's portrayed and doing lots of intriguing stuff in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello everyone, and welcome to the African American Experience. This program is intended for a print-impaired audience and is brought to you by Audio Journal. Material is selected with the interests of its audience in mind and with the goal to inform and entertain. The opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the views and opinions of Audio Journal, its board of directors, staff, or volunteer readers. Hello, and welcome to the African American Experience, a program celebrating the artistic, cultural, and historic contributions of African Americans. This program has been created and produced by Audio Journal's Roy Allen Project to carry on the work and vision of its namesake. Roy Allen was an extraordinary human being who deeply touched the lives of his family, his friends, and his colleagues. He was a trailblazer for African Americans in the fields of theater, radio, and television. In carrying on Roy's vision to inspire the African American community to a sense of pride and power in its achievements, and to share those achievements with all the community, we present the African American Experience with your host, Tina E. Gaffney. That's me. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the African American Experience. I am touched and honored and thrilled and pleased to have the magnificent Mike Daniel, who is going to be spending some time with my listeners and I, and talking about a particular character he's portrayed, what it means to him, how it resonates, and the story he hopes to tell. Hey, Mike, how are you?
How's it going? How are you?
Oh, great. Now,
It's been a minute, hasn't it?
It's been a minute, hasn't it, since
Yes, it has.
you were here last. I'd like to start by you just giving background about the Whirlwind Project. People may not know who Major Taylor was and how you came to hear about it. Take it away.
No problem. So, I want to say maybe back 2018-ish, I want to say. I met Barbara Gerton. Mm-hmm. She's one of the directors on the board and for Fourth Wall. That's what it is. Yeah, Fourth Wall Theater Company. I did a show with her at Quinsig, and she directed me, and we did a show called Thornwood, and we stayed in contact since then. And one day she called me up, and she asked if I'd be interested in writing a play and starring in a play about Major Taylor. And Major Taylor, he was originally from Indiana, but he spent most of his life in Worcester to escape, racial prejudices that he was suffering in Indiana. And he was one of the first African American cyclist champions at the turn of the century. And he trained in Worcester, and there is a statue of him at the Worcester Library. We have a museum on Main Street here in Worcester that's dedicated to him. There's a mural of him if you go on 290 on the Rotman's building right outside of Holy Cross. It's pretty cool.
Yes.
And he's a very prominent role. There's a street named after him here. So he's very historic. And so I didn't feel his story is so his story is getting more known now, I feel, than it has been in the last God knows how long.
Right?
I mean, when I went to school, I don't remember us ever talking about him.
Yeah, when I went to school, we never even knew he existed.
So I really didn't. I knew who he was, but didn't really know much about him. I didn't really learn anything about him or discover he did exist until around 2011 or somewhere around there. That's what it feels like for me.
Well, you did better than most people. There are some that still don't know he exists. And I have to mention, this is Facebook Live, correct?
Yes, I got some friends on Facebook Live.
Mommy, Dad, and Craig, and Johnny, all you Tina Gaffney fans out there. Here I am with the fabulous Mike Daniel. Continue.
Sweet. Put some steak on it, that's what I like to say. But, so anyway, So, Major Taylor, I didn't find anything about him until roughly 2011, 2012 or so, and I feel like his story was so not well known, but now it's getting more known because there's so much things around the city dedicated to him, and he's pretty much like one of the first Michael Jordans at his sport and such. And so when I was approached by Barbara to write the play and star in it, I was taken aback, honored to be offered, but unfortunately I just didn't know enough about him, so I didn't feel I could write something about him that would do him service. So that kind of just fizzled out. Fast forward some years later, Barbara contacts me again, and she says, would you like to be Major Taylor in a documentary? Because the guy we had dropped out. I don't know what happened to him. Something happened to him. I don't really know the story of why he dropped out.
Okay.
But they asked Barbara if she knew anybody, and she knew me, and she asked me to be a part of it, and I wasn't doing anything really, not too much. I forget what show I had just finished, but
okay.
I had nothing, lined up, so I just said, sure, just got to shoot for what we do 2 days? I think we did 2 days of shooting. It was like 2 12-hour days.
Wow, that's pretty quick.
It was in like May when we shot the trailer. It was hot too.
Yeah.
I remember being really, really hot, but it wasn't all that bad. It was still a lot of fun. So went down to the Votary Films here in Worcester, which is also, their entire crew is super, super awesome. They're super nice, wonderful people to meet.
What was the name of the company again?
Votary Films.
Okay.
Votary Films.
All right.
And met with Cyril, met the whole crew and everybody, and since then the rest is kind of history in a way. It's just been we had a lot of chemistry. I'm really big on chemistry when I work with like people in any type of theater production or film production. Everyone got along, and it was real easy. It was just simple. It's like, stand and do poses and stuff on a bike and like eat and such, but it was I enjoyed every moment of it. And so now we're in a position to hopefully get Major Taylor's story out there the way it should be.
Well, it's funny that you're talking about all of this because there's a program on some cable outlets called Mysteries at the Museum. And I was watching Mysteries at the Museum, and lo and behold, they did the Major Taylor story, and I went, oh my God, look, there's City Hall, there's downtown Worcester. And I was like all excited, because it's, as you say, it's a very little known story that's finally beginning to get its due. And I'm so thrilled about that. Now, have there been special events to publicize this wondrous circumstance and story of Major Taylor that you participated in, been at, would care to talk to people about, as well as whether or not you know of any upcoming events in honor of this project?
There has. I would say maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, right around after we had the trailer release party at the museum. We did that. It was a while ago. Then we did another panel. I forget the name of the actual event that we did, but we had maybe 100 people or so at the studio at Votary Films, and I was in costume. We did the whole green screen pictures, so I took photos with a lot of people, and it was really, really cool. Met a lot of people, and also there was an article about me that came out.
Yay!
So that was really cool. That was in the Worcester Telegram, and I was really honored to have that done by Richard Duckett, who's done a lot of articles. He's done a lot of fantastic work.
I know him very well.
He's very, very great. He's awesome. And so at this particular event, we had food. We were promoting the film, telling everybody what our plan was, what we want to do. All the cast and crew was in character and such. We had a panel between Cyril, Jed, and myself, and Barbara. Jed, he's the owner and CEO, founder of Votary Films. Great guy, awesome guy. Cyril's the director, Cyril Vincent. He's the director of the film. Barbara, she does the costuming, and me, I'm just the guy playing the guy.
Don't ever got him. He's talent. That's what they always used to say on the set. They say that's just the talent. Don't worry about it. But no, this is the fabulous Mike Daniel. Look at this face. Oscar bound.
I try.
Right here. Well, this one too, but this is about you. So,
yeah.
Okay, and so going back to this event.
So we had a panel, which I didn't know I was going to be on that panel until like I got there. So, and like I've done public speaking before, but not to like this magnitude. So I'm not a dude that normally gets like nervous or anything, but when I got to the panel, Sarah's like, cool, we'll do a panel. People are going to ask us questions. It's going to be me, you, Jed, and Barbara.
Oh, my.
And so they all went first, and I went last. And I remember just sitting there looking at like 80 to 100 people or so, and I'm just like, oh, boy, I hope I could deliver or say something to let these people believe that I'm the right guy for the job. Now, I'm not just some dude off the street or whatever. I don't know. But I forget what I remember just talking pretty much, I guess you can say cliche, talking from the heart. But that's what I did. Just spoke how I felt, spoke, what was on my mind, and what came out, and it was wonderful, and everybody really, really enjoyed it. So that was one. And then recently we had I think it was called the Resilience exhibit at the Worcester Craft Center, where there were 100 paintings that were done by, what is it? I'm awful right now. There's 100 paintings.
A very talented painter.
Very talented painter. Very, very talented painter. He did 100 paintings in 24 hours.
Whoa. And
the paintings were absolutely amazing. They were definitely absolutely beautiful. Maybe I can just hold on for 1 second. Maybe I can do something where was the painter.
Okay.
So
very talented painter.
Very talented painter.
Yes,
I wanted to make sure I got that right. And he did absolutely marvelous paintings, and they were auctioning them off, and some of them going for 10 grand. Some were going for a little less than 10 grand, but I don't have 10 grand in my pocket. Wish I did. It was all in an effort to raise money for the film and further the story of Major Taylor.
Right.
And it was an absolutely wonderful experience. That's where we got to meet up and link up again, because it's been quite some time. Been quite some time. And so we did that. And then just last week, we did Nelson Bales at the Landry Bicycle Shop, which was wonderful. Wonderful. I honestly didn't really know much about him either. Cycling, I mean, as far as my knowledge for cyclists, it doesn't go much farther than Lance Armstrong.
Yeah, well, actually, when I got back, I was telling people, this is the guy who's standing on the shoulders of Major Taylor. The Olympics begin next week, and I mean, you think it could have been so much. It couldn't have been any more aptly timed than that, because a lot of people also don't know his story, just like they don't know Major Taylor's story. But thanks to you, they will. And it's Votary Films.
Votary Films, yeah.
Votary Films,
the studio doing the film, and learning about Nelson Bale's story himself and how he presented his entire story was very, very fascinating. It was very intriguing just to sit back and just watch and learn about his experiences racing all over the world, from Japan, Australia, all over, and it was very special to meet him and talk to him and learn more about him and such. So I walked into that thing blind as a bat, and I walked out with that much more knowledge. Knowledge is always good.
Yeah, I got to sit down and talk with him for a little bit, and I said, for those of us who are not competitive bikers, can you give me an idea of the difference between biking and cyclist? And he said something like, cyclist is when you do it competitively all the time. Recreational biking is just when you do it for fun and you like it. And I was like, goodness, there's something else I didn't know before either. And I just love the fact that, one, we were sitting in a room with an Olympian, okay? How often does that happen in your weekly day? I'm going to get up, I'm going to have my coffee. Oh, yeah, I'm going to go talk to an Olympian. Then we're going to have some orange juice.
And he's in great shape. He's in great
God.
Great shape. So.
What did he say? Did he say his age?
He never said his age, but if I'm doing the math, I can have an idea. But I'm going to keep that a little bit confidential. But
and I was just so impressed, because I had never seen an Olympian sitting there narrating their own moment at the Olympics in front of people. And I was just like, oh my goodness gracious me. Wow. And then by the time the whole thing was over and we shook hands and I said, safe travels, and I guess he had to go up to Rhode Island or something next, so I'm pretty sure he had another thing to do. But I said, well, safe travels, please keep in touch. And when the Olympic ceremonies open on the 26th of July, and they get to the cycling part, I will be thinking exactly of you. But oh my gosh. Now, for my listeners, can you tell us the beginning? Like, I'm telling you, you're going to be one of those docudramas. It's going to be...
I hope so.
I'm serious.
Whoa.
Is it all right?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. It's going to be Mike Daniels, the early years. Mike Daniels, the Middle Passage. Mike Daniels, his future legacy. Which is a good segue into, tell us how you got into acting.
How do I get into acting?
Yeah.
I always call it's a funny story.
Okay.
Well, so I went to Fitchburg State University.
Yay!
And when I was leaving Quincy, they have you, what do you want to do at Fitchburg State? And so I had a friend who went to Fitchburg State while I was at Quincy.
Okay.
And they offered film and video. And I always been fascinated in doing films and videos and acting and such. So I applied to do the film and video major. I got denied.
Huh.
So they said, no, you can't do that, but you can do any of these lists of things. So here's a list of this stuff, you can do that. And on the list there was science and math and a whole bunch of English, like a whole bunch of things that really, really didn't interest me.
Right.
But theater stuck out, and I thought to myself, I could probably learn a little bit of something from film and video with theater, but also a little bit of acting. And I thought, well, I'm an animated person. I got a colorful personality. And all my friends who are probably watching now who have seen this or that know me, they know that they know that to the T. And so,
yay.
And my thought process was I did not want to write essays. So if I did English, I'm going to be writing papers for years. And that was my thought process. I didn't want to write essays. So I was thinking theater, I might have to write essays, but I might not have to write as much essays if I chose something else.
Okay.
So I went with the theater.
Good.
And again, pretty much the rest is history again. But the first show I did at Fitchburg State was a show called The Laramie Project.
The Laramie Project, of course, yes.
It's the story of Matthew Shepard and I think in, was it Wisconsin or South Dakota? I forget the state. I'm awful again. I'm sorry. But,
okay. It was one of those two, or Arizona, one of the two. It had a lot of desert.
Somewhere Midwest. I feel like it's somewhere Midwest.
Right.
Somewhere Midwest. But the story of Matthew Shepard, who was he was a gay kid, and he pretty much got beat and murdered. He suffered from homophobia, homophobic attacks onto him, to the point where they beat him so badly that he was left on a wooden fence, and his face, he was beaten so badly his face was just covered in blood, but like the only part that wasn't covered in blood on his face was the streaks from his tears where he had been crying. And so I did the narrator for that show, and
that must have been kind of tough because that's an emotional piece to do.
It was maybe not so much for me. I mean, I felt it from like the actors doing the other parts and such. Right. But at that time I didn't know anything about Matthew Shepard or the Laramie Project or that story. But I remember going in for the audition and thinking, there is no way I'm going to get this part, because I just know they had to recite a monologue or something. And I'm like, all right, I've never done this before a day in my life. So I found something, I Googled monologues or something, just something random I just found on the internet, and went to the audition with that, the best memorization I could do at that time. And I was like, all right, cool. Walked away thinking, there's no way I'm going to get him charged. And before I got home, I got the phone call to hey, yeah, we cast you. And I was like, oh, cool. So
excellent.
I got my first show at Fitchburg State. So yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That was good. And from Fitchburg State, I went on to do Vanya, Sonia, Masha, Spike, where I played Spike.
Could you tell my listeners what that's about? Because I may not have heard of it.
Bonnie and Masha Spike is a play by Christopher Durang.
Oh, he wrote The Actor's Nightmare. He's one of my favorite ones.
And
I love that.
I played the character of Spike, who's like a young, kind of self-centered heartthrob, I guess, and he's in a relationship with the character of Masha.
Okay.
And there's a scene in there that I have to do like a reverse striptease. So I start off in like my underwear, and I'm like dancing on stage, putting my clothes on and
Please tell me this is a comedy, right?
It's a comedy, yeah.
Okay, because I know there's also dramedy. That's why I always differentiate.
Yes.
Okay. Oh my.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very fantastic show. It's the first show I had to do like any like real actual acting.
How long was the run of the show?
2 weeks.
Okay,
2 weeks.
So that's pretty good.
All the shows at Fitchburg State were just 2 weekends.
Yeah.
And such. So I went from there, then went to the Crucible.
Wow.
And then was honored to get a chance to do a show in Scotland at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in 2015.
Wow.
Which was an amazing experience.
Which show is it?
We did a show called Fausted. It was a student written show by Samantha DeMamby. And it had a modern take on climate change with the story of Dr. Faustus.
Oh, wow.
And I played the deadly sin of pride.
Oh, my.
Also, I played Barack Obama in that show. And I played...
Now, you know I'm going to ask you. You got to do it. You got to say 2 lines as Barack. You have to say at least 2 lines.
I can try. Ladies and gentlemen, you are sitting here listening to the African American Experience with Tina Gaffney. That's the best I got.
Bravo!
And as our Mark Daniel, put some circle on it.
Bravo!
That's all I got. It's probably it needs to be fine tuned, man.
Well, as part of your repertoire, do you also add on to other impersonations that you do, or only him?
Honestly, I've never done much impersonations. That was the only time I had to do like an impersonation, just for like that scene where I was Barack Obama and a scene where I was Al Gore for one scene.
Oh my goodness! Those two are about as diametrically opposed as you're gonna get. Oh my God! Wow.
Absolutely.
So then that brings up the question of future plans for your acting. Do you see it as, because I know like right now, I believe Steve Martin and Martin Short are touring together. And do you think you could see yourself with a collaborative theater ensemble touring the country? Do you see in future for you that you would find one venue and have people come see you? Which is a big thing that's picking up momentum. People are getting groups of people together on Zoom, and they're filming scenes so that more people can see them that may not be able to afford a theater ticket or have a way to travel from place to place. What sorts of projects do you see yourself doing in the future? And an even better question for you that I ask anybody that's been here that's an actor, this is a big one. What role have you yet to portray that you have never done?
Well, let's start off with the future. Any future plans, what I plan to do? I plan on taking my acting in like all the way as far as I can possibly take it. Now I'm starting to really want to start putting, pedal to the metal and trying to get in the right areas or situations that I can. Unfortunately, I'm not that cool, and my bank account shows that. So most times I spend trying to keep my roof over my head and feed my cats.
Oh, you're a cat person.
Yeah, I got 2 cats, Baxter and Bo. They're great. And I would love to do a show that gets to tour the country or anything like that. If the opportunity came up to do that, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Any chance to do shows all over. If I can get to New York, to Boston,
it's all about
good. I always hear, it's all about who you know, who you can get in front of, getting in front of the right people.
What do they say? Get in front of a lot of eyeballs. Yeah.
Yes, and I've been trying to expand on doing that by doing shows with different theaters and such. The last show I just did, we just wrapped up a month ago, just about. Yeah, it was a month. It was a month ago on this past Sunday to the day.
Oh wow!
So we did Proof, with Studio Theater Worcester. It was my first time working with Studio Theater Worcester.
Oh, who's your director?
John Summers. And John had saw me in some shows I did for Worcester County Light Opera Company. And
wait, how long ago did you work for the Worcester County Light Opera Company?
Last show I did with them was last year. Was last year. We did Small Amount of Sounds.
And who was the director for that?
That was Eric Butler.
Okay.
Eric Butler. Also, everyone at Worcester County Light Opera Company, very, very great people. It was really fun to work with them. And so from that, I had about a week or 2 weeks off, and then got contacted by Tom Stokes to do a show called Gem of the Ocean, which was also amazing.
What is that about?
That one is about, it's a woman named Aunt Esther, and I don't know how I missed this, but when we were doing our rehearsal, and we were pretty deep into the rehearsal. We started rehearsal early. We finished Small Mouth Sounds in February, like mid-February. First week of March, I was in Gem of the Ocean, and then we started rehearsals the following week, and we did the show late September, early October. So all of the rest of winter, spring, and summer, we were just rehearsing.
Wow.
Without even a full cast. So it was many, many months. And so Gem of the Ocean, it's about a woman named Aunt Esther, and I read this as I was reading the script, and we got deep into it. She's 283 or 87 years old. Whoa. She's a magic woman and such. I played the character of Caesar Wilkes, and he was pretty much the villain.
Sorry. Is this a true story or not a true story?
It's not a true story.
Okay, because I was thinking 200.
Yeah, 200. Yeah, that's
a lot.
280 something. I was like, whoa. But she's a magic woman, and I played the character of Caesar Wilkes. Takes place, I think, just after the Civil War.
Okay.
Takes place in Pittsburgh,
Pennsylvania. Okay.
I'm kind of foggy on it, unfortunately, but my character was pretty much the lead villain, I guess. So,
the antagonist. Oh my!
That was a real fun role to do. A lot of fun and a lot of and very challenging. And for a while, I've been looking for roles that was going to challenge my skills.
Okay, well then let me ask you this: one, why was it challenging? And two, we're gonna circle back, as they now say, to a character that you haven't yet portrayed that you would like to portray.
So Caesar Wilkes, it was challenging because, one, he had a lot of monologues, some sizable monologues, and I haven't done any shows where I had to get down a good, healthy size monologue. And also, he's a very essential part to the show. Like, if he doesn't work, the show, it's not that it can't work, but it doesn't raise the stakes. It doesn't. There's no sense of like danger. So I had to be, and I was the only antagonist on the whole show. So
kind of all on you.
Yeah, I had to be that figure that to instruct and like fear in people. And Caesar Wilkes, he's all about the law. He's all about rules and regulations, even if it's sacrificing his own people, which sometimes he does. There's a scene where a little boy, he's hungry and he steals a loaf of bread, and you don't see it during the show, but he talks about how he shot a kid because he stole a loaf of bread, and he's like, you don't steal, especially at that time. You don't steal. Stealing is against the law, and everybody needs to respect the law. And he's an officer, and he would do, pretty much, he lives, breathes, eats, sleeps, dies by his badge. Right. So his badge is his way of life. It's his code, I guess.
So who's the character that you haven't done yet that you'd like to do?
Character that I haven't done that I would like to do? One that really sticks out, and I've said it before, would be Torvald in A Doll's House.
Oh, yes.
Doll's House was the first play that I read in one sitting.
Oh, yes.
And it was not necessarily an assignment. We had plays that were recommended to us. We had to read during college, and the first one on the list was A Doll's House. And I said, all right, cool, I'm reading A Doll's House. So And it's very fascinating. I got to reread A Doll's House so I can be more fresh on it because I haven't read it in such a long time. But I remember being fascinated by him and the entire story of The Doll's House as well. So that opportunity never shows up. I would hop on that in a heartbeat.
Okay, and something that you may wish to give thought to for the future, because I think we mentioned this when you were here the first time. What would you feel about finding, either since you have writing experience, either writing yourself or being presented with the opportunity to do a one-man show?
A one-man show or writing myself? Well, I can answer that two ways. One, I am writing myself. I've been working on I've been working on my own play for close to 7 years now.
Oh, excellent.
It's been I write when I feel most inspired to, so it's been very, very slow. I have 1.5 acts. Well, 1.25 acts.
Oh, wow.
So
well,
yeah.
it could be a one-act play. You never know.
We
I've done
did
thousands of those.
do a reading of it last year with some.
How did it go?
It went amazing. It went very well. Everybody loved it. They had a lot of great feedback, and so I have started writing in it again. So I got a good portion of.
There you go.
A good start to my second act. I accidentally wrote like a sad scene. I didn't mean to write the scene as sad as it is, but when I was done with it, I was like, oh my, that's
well, you know,
that's
they just say when you're in your creative process that sometimes you're just so used to it going one way, and then it can surprise you and take you in a completely different place.
Sometimes I do that. I try to just let just free flow and just let whatever comes to mind just down on the paper. If I don't like it, I don't like it. And it's been so long, with 7 years, people change, your mindset changes.
Sure do.
And it still to me personally, I still feel good that I can read the things I wrote back then and still get a pretty sweet laugh out of it. And I'm like, all right, cool. I feel like something's working. So
oh my God.
Even during the reading last year, people were laughing at the parts that were supposed to be funny.
Yes. As a playwright, you're like, I know when they show those movies on TV, the playwright will go across the street, have something to drink, and they'll be like, okay, they're laughing there.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, they're not laughing there. Better. Okay, they're still laughing. That's good. Oh my God. People have no idea how risky it can be a playwright, because when I have to do academic essays, I tell my instructors, I scoop out a little bit of my heart with everything I write, just so you know, and everybody else will say, the instructor will say, what's the word count limit on this? I'll say, 400 words. Okay.
Yeah.
Mine. I actually had to have an instructor call me up once. It ended up being 25 pages.
Oh, man.
And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. But in the end, I looked at it as...
I've had those exact experiences doing writing, creative writing classes back at SIG or when I was at Fitchburg State.
But in the end, I found it's easier to take stuff out because you can edit, than it is to have an instructor tell you, you need more of this, more of this. My favorite instructor quote of all time, dig deeper. It's like, I've been digging for 3 weeks. Of course, it's only 7 weeks
and you
long.
keep going. When you can't dig anymore, dig one more.
Dig one more.
But,
but
it's funny you say that because it reminds me when I was writing those short stories or those short plays that I have written before, but I still have.
Oh.
May adapt those, maybe a little lengthier, who knows. We'll see how this one goes. But I realized my style of writing, I've always been like a comedic guy. So you see a lot of my personality in things that I've written, and a lot of people that have read my stuff. I'm sure all your friends are looking and say, yep, he's telling the truth. That's right, that's right. Most likely.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And so, slow connection. I hope they can see me well. Oh, we're good. Okay, anyway. So, I remember I would just write some things just to be in there as filler. And I really didn't want to do that. Even though things were fine, but I would go back and analyze what I'd written. And say, all right, cool. If I take this part out, take that part out, is it essential to the plot or the story that I'm trying to tell? Or does anything change? And when I do that, nothing really changes. And so, while sometimes I think that's good in small little nibbits and increments and little pieces here and there, the play I'm writing right now is my first attempt at doing something full length and trying to keep things a little concise and such, and keep things, entertaining and, you know, keep people wanting to continue to read, not have the parts like, all right, this is whatever, we're going to put this down or whatever.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, because I just took a creative writing course and they gave us like a book that, what is it? A swim in a pond in a lake, and it's like 4 Russian people get together and talk about what makes writing to them, and they gave some tips throughout, and 3 or 4 of them were like, don't tell your audience everything, let them figure some stuff out. If you edit along the way, it's okay. Writers are supposed to do that.
Right.
And to have a sense of adventure about what you do. Now, have you found that acting has given you, and your writing has given you lots of adventures along the way?
It has given me some adventures.
Ooh.
Well, I guess not major adventures, but what it does for me is giving me a lot of joy and like,
oh, that's so
peace
great.
and happiness. As cliche may sound, I mean, just because it's cliche does not make it not true.
That's right. It can be true.
To quote Paul Heyman, the wise man.
That's exactly right.
WWE wrestling fans may understand that reference, but so it's performing. Like I said earlier, it's just I've always been a very animated guy, very colorful guy, colorful personality, and all my friends know. You know, I like to have fun and be me, and doing that and entertain people. And I like making people laugh. I like making people feel moved. When I did Gem of the Ocean, I had people coming up to me after the show and be like, hey, I just want to see if you're that much of a bad guy in person as you portrayed on stage. Obviously, he didn't say bad guy. He said something else, but you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. I do know what you mean.
But that, and so, yeah, I was like, no, cool. They're really happy that I'm a good guy. So that, for me, that says, you know, I've done my job. Or when I have people coming to me after shows and said, oh, I made them cry, or they thought, you know, I was excellent, and they felt something, making people feel. I always felt like if I'm doing a show, performing, and if people don't leave feeling moved or question what they saw, or even having arguments about what they saw on the drive home, I don't know, I feel like I haven't done my job.
Well, you know, we must have met each other in another life or something, because I was in Boston at the BCA, I hope it's still there, the Boston Center for the Arts, and I was doing a play by Susan Laurie Parks called In the Blood. And I was the evil, awful, terrible counselor person who looked down her nose at everybody and thought, the sun did not shine until I woke up. And when I finished the performance one night, you know how you can tell somebody just wants to confront you? Just got that locked jaw on their face? Someone walked right up to me, and she looked right at me, and she stared at me, and she was like, I hated you. And I said, thank you very much. That means I'm doing my job as an actor. And her whole face just fell. Because she was expecting a confrontation, and I was just like, you know, it's exactly like you just said. If you get somebody to be challenged or stimulated in some way, or hopeful or thoughtful, or get them to rethink something, or reimagine something, or consider something they've never even considered before, to look at a different perspective as an actor, I think you're really, truly doing your job. Really.
Absolutely.
Now, this is a tough one, but since you are Mike Daniel.
You said Susan Laurie Parks.
Yes.
After Fitchburg State, I went to Pure Theater down in Charleston, South Carolina, and did an internship. And the show that we did was Father Comes Home from the Wars, parts 1, 2, and 3, which is also by Susan Laurie Parks.
Yeah. Oh my God. I told you, you're going to be a miniseries. He's going to be a miniseries. Pay attention to this face right there.
Pay attention to the face, everybody.
It will be. Now, a hot button topic, I guess you could say, that's been talked about all over the place, is representation. We could talk about that for 9,000 million hours, and we just scratched the surface. How far have you seen it come?
How far have I seen it come?
What contribution do you feel that you've made with the art that you've created thus far? And where would you like to see it go to?
It's definitely come a long way within the last 20 years. I mean, you're definitely seeing a lot more diverse people in a lot of roles that they probably wouldn't get those roles back in 2004. Or even 2008. You know,
got that right. Both can be true, and they are.
It's definitely still a work in process, and just my personal opinions. I do enjoy like seeing it where it's coming and where it can potentially go. But I also like it when it's I feel like when it's necessary, because then I feel like it's a more rewarding thing. Me personally, I don't like feeling the things that are kind of like shoehorned in to check off a box or such, and I feel sometimes Hollywood may get away with that, because I do feel maybe, I know, even personally, like other people of color, African Americans, Asians, Hispanics and stuff, they do like, they're superheroes or they're comic book characters or any other characters that aren't even like comic book characters or whatever, or just they're natural, they like whatever they like. And to see someone that looks like them in a role, yes, it's cool. It's great. We love it. It's what we want to see.
Yes.
But we also want to see it respected. We want ourselves to be respected in the same limelight. And I feel when things are kind of just shoehorned in, there's no real care for it. There's no real meaning. They're just, like I said, doing a check off to check a box. I feel for things to be diverse, they need to kind of reflect also like life itself, how things really are. And I feel like things need to be more natural. For example, me, I'm probably the one, if not the one of, or if not the only, maybe African American male actor in the Worcester area. I'm sure there's others, but if you guys are out there, to let me know.
There you go.
Come on out, because everybody there is what's the word? A demand or desire for more diverse in all the shows around Worcester. And I feel all the theater companies that I work for, whether it be Worcester County Light, Studio Theater, American Repertory, Dramatically Incorrect out in Lowell. Shout out to Paul if he's watching.
I heard that one, Lowell, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Good
And
name.
they strictly cast based on talent. Yes, they do want to be diverse and such, but I've always felt like they've casted me strictly on my talent, and that's what makes me the proudest. They see me as like, this guy can do the part that we can do what we want him to do. When I went out for the audition for Proof, I found out I think 70 or 80 people auditioned. And I got chosen for the part, so I was like, "Oh, okay, no pressure at all." So,
There you go. Nah.
But I was very proud and happy to get that role. And working with Studio Theater I can't put to words like how just absolutely amazing and phenomenal they've all been. There's some of the most genuine people I met. Nothing against anybody else that I haven't worked with or have worked with. Just my own personal experience with them. Very wholesome, very welcoming. I kept saying I'm big on chemistry. From the day one we did our first read of the show, I felt the chemistry in the room amongst everybody, between the crew, the cast, the board, director John. I think everyone, we got along very, very well, and I feel chemistry is a major, major part to acting and doing a show, to almost any project, dearly.
Well, I have to ask you if you heard about this whole controversy. I think it was in Connecticut. There was a theater company last season that was holding auditions for a chorus line. How can you not know to play a chorus line? Right? And did you see the movie? The movie of a chorus line?
I have not. Sorry.
Okay. Well, there's a specific role written for an African American actor, and he was really great, and every review said this guy was fantastic. So when they had auditions for a chorus line, I was like, oh, chorus line. Interesting to see revival. Nothing wrong with revisiting old material, right? You could have knocked me off my chair when less than a week after I read that they were doing it, show got canceled. You want to know why? According to the theater group that I will not mention the name of, we looked around and had auditions for 2 months, but we couldn't find an African American actor to portray the role.
You know what's funny? I think I remember that story. Because back when we were doing Gem in the Ocean, for the theater company was American Repertory, based in Putnam, Connecticut. And we did the show at Woodstock Academy. And there was some murmurs of a very, very, very similar story like that going on at a particular theater company, which we're not going to name. Yes.
No, but I always try to leave everyone with something positive, which I'm so excited about. They just listed some of the upcoming plays that will be done this upcoming theater season in the autumn. Mm-hmm. And you may be even too young to remember, but do you remember a play called Gypsy? Gypsy Rose Lee?
I do not.
Okay, that's all right. Well, it was a very famous character. And for the first time on Broadway, titan of the theater herself, 6-time Tony-winning actor extraordinaire, Gypsy is going to be portrayed by none other than Audra McDonald. Audra.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yay, Audra. Go, Audra. Go, Audra. Go, Audra. I was so excited when I heard that because I was like, it's about time that people see different perspectives of roles that have been around a long time. And I preface that to say this. You remember the TV show Benson, Robert Keown? He worked in a big mansion. He was a...
was it a sitcom?
Yes, it was, actually.
I'm not ringing the bell. I wasn't really big on the sitcoms back in the day.
Ah.
When I was younger, probably the only sitcom I really watched, or a couple, I remember watching Fresh Prince, Martin. When they were in their heyday, when those shows were definitely in their heyday, I was what,
right.
6? I was really young. I did watch That 70s Show a lot.
Did you watch A Different World?
I don't think so, no.
Lisa Bonet? Oh, okay. Well, then the show we won't mention that show is a spin-off of. Did you watch that show?
That show?
Mm-hmm. That Lisa Bonet had a spin-off from.
No, probably most likely not.
Oh, okay. So you know what show I'm referring to?
Not really.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Famous comedian just got disgraced for allegedly XYZ. Now is on house arrest. Did Jello pudding pops? Did Ghost
Oh,
Dad?
yeah.
That
I think so,
comedian.
yeah.
Did you watch that show ever?
I did not.
Okay, all right. Well, no, that's fair. But I'm happy to say that once I heard that about Audra McDonald, I was like, yay! That's our executive director. That's Harry
cool.
Duchesne. Go, Harry! Yay!
I like his shirt.
I'm just happy because it shows, like, when you do the stuff you do and I do the stuff I do, it shows people what's possible. And for anybody that's out there that knows of me or has seen me do any kind of theatrical stuff, I'm a possibilities person. Because my whole thought is, if I'm doing, I mean, I know full well every day I take stage, I'm standing on the shoulders of all the women that came before me. Mm-hmm. All the women that come after me will be knowing that they'll be standing on my shoulders because of what I've gotten to do in radio and video and TV and film and all of that. Yep. So the diversity thing I think is bigger than a thing. I think it's a very much needed, I mean, do you ever read comic books, or did you read comic books when you were a kid?
A little bit.
Okay.
A lot of my friends who are like the big comic book, nerds, I guess. I'm a nerd too. I'm a wrestling nerd. Well, I do a lot of the movies and like, I gotta read the comic books. And there's a few that I've dabbled in.
Well, you're familiar with Marvel Comics.
Absolutely.
Cinematic Universe. In their 115-year history, they have finally hired for the first time an African-American woman as a writer. Well, it took them 115 years to do it.
But we got it done.
We got it done, Yep. That's why I look at them and say, well, that's one more than what they used to have now, Absolutely. Isn't it? So there you go. But I remember being so excited and so proud when I was a kid and was reading comic books when I saw my first Black Panther. Oh, my God. You could hear every kid on the street. There's black people in comic books. Go down to Mr. Butler's store. He was great because he let us get the comic books for a nickel because he ripped the covers off of all of them. We were like, there's black people in comic books. Hurry up. Go now. Get the people now. Hurry up. We couldn't move fast enough to that store. Oh my goodness gracious me. And it was just so exciting to me to see someone that looked like me,
Yeah.
And I mean like Abbott Elementary. Oh my God, how good is that show?
Yeah.
It's up for Emmy Awards again, and I'm so excited because it's written and produced and created by and starring a woman of color. Has that ever happened? Let me think. No.
Not that I can't name of.
Pardon?
Not any that I can name of.
Right.
Off my
I mean,
head.
and that made me think all the way back to One woman I had the pleasure of meeting, Diane Carroll. She was the first African American woman to have a drama series, Julia, that she portrayed a single mom raising her son. And I was just like, wow, if you think about from that to where we're, coming towards, it's like a hugely, hugely big thing, to me. Star that you would like to work with, but you haven't worked with yet.
Star that I would like to work with that I haven't worked with yet?
Mm-hmm.
That could be almost anyone. I mean, oh boy. But yeah, that can be anyone from Michael B. Jordan to Jake Gyllenhaal to Charlize Theron, Jenna Ortega. I'm just listing names right now.
Okay.
I just want to be in a situation where I can have like those kind of opportunities. And funny thing you said, about like possibilities. That's kind of a bit what like my play that I've been writing is about. So it's like loosely based off my own experiences, and I called it Cold Habits.
Cold Habits.
Cold Habits.
That's the title?
That's the title.
Cold Habits. Love that.
And it's basically about taking opportunities when you felt like these opportunities were never going to come to you.
Right.
Because you're just not wired to think that things are possible.
Okay.
And growing up, I definitely have dealt with that and dealt with my own stubbornness from a lot of things. That's
tenacity. Tenacity. There you go.
That's definitely held me back in some ways, and it's like growing up. I just never went like, you can ask me when I was in like 8th grade, high school, or whatever. People would say, hey, so where are you going to college or something? And just because how I was just taught and raised, I didn't think about going to college or whatever. Right. I was like, what? I didn't think about going to college. I didn't think about traveling.
Right.
I didn't think about doing any of these things that people do on a regular basis. And just because they're fortunate enough to do that. And it's not that, yes, I was unfortunate to not be able to have those opportunities, but I never thought that I could obtain them.
Right.
Like earlier, like middle school, like I didn't think I could go into a 4-year school or any of that stuff. It just wasn't taught to me. Then over time, gotten older and thought things through. I took chances on myself, and these opportunities presented themselves, and I took them, and I've done so much. I've gone to these schools. I've traveled the world. I've done some films, done theater. I performed. I've done a lot. Where, absolutely, thinking back when I was a young kid,
right.
Growing up and hearing.
You're not decrepit now.
No, not decrepit. Just being, just kind of being real. But
But see, you brought that really great point up about taking chances on yourself. I cannot say that enough, listeners. Take chances on yourself. You will be amazed at what happens. It's different for everybody, but I read something somewhere that said, I don't know much about sports, but I do know this: you will miss 100% of the shots you never take.
Yeah.
And I was like, there you go. Oh my goodness gracious! Do you happen to have a favorite playwright?
Favorite playwright?
Besides yourself, do you happen to have a favorite playwright?
Well, I got to see where I got to finish my play first and see where it goes. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think so. I don't have a favorite one. But if I have one that I admire, that I've actually grown to appreciate more, would be Arthur Miller. Yeah, because of The Crucible. Growing up, reading The Crucible in high school, and also just reading. Like, I was a completely different kind of kid when I was in high school. When I was in high school and when I was younger, for me, I was like, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to read. I don't want to do my homework. I don't want to do anything. I just want to play video games and play football. Right. So I played football in high school. Once football practice was over, go home, play video games, and watch wrestling.
Wow.
that was all I did.
Okay.
I honestly didn't really. I don't have any regrets, but if there's something I probably wish I maybe did more of, was definitely try to be a little bit more involved in some things, and maybe did a little bit more reading. But I've grown to really appreciate Arthur Miller and his work, and I've grown to really, really appreciate The Crucible, and I've grown to really appreciate a lot more. What's that even a word? I don't know what I'm saying right now.
It's the love of the art.
Yeah, a lot more different arts and projects and things that actually require me to really think deeply, like the Titanic. When I was younger, I couldn't stand that movie for whatever reason.
I know
that was like one of my favorite movies. It's one of the greatest movies ever.
So long. Oh my god.
Yeah, I enjoy it, and it feels like 20 minutes.
All right. Well, as we get ready to wrap this up, why don't you talk a little bit about what you see as the legacy of Mike Daniels being for the future?
The legacy of Mike Daniel. The legacy of the mic.
There you go.
The legacy of the mic.
And so, drop the mic. I'm sorry, it just sort of came out that way. I've been telling myself about that. But yeah, what do you see your legacy artistically, personally, as being for your fans and yourself?
Well, I just like to just enjoy myself. I think people, by any means necessary, just enjoying life, even when I'm faced with like the worst hardships and stuff like that. I've been through quite a bit, but I always try to exercise and tell people, not physically, I do physically exercise, but what I mean exercising as in like to remember to be grateful and just always remember, it can be different. It can be a lot worse. Mm-hmm. There's always always going to be someone that is willing to switch places with you, that would trade their problems for your problems. And so I always try to remind myself to just be thankful and have some gratitude.
Okay, I want to thank my guest, Mike Daniel Extraordinaire. You've been listening to The African American Experience, a production of Audio Journal, a proud member of the Massachusetts Audio Information Network. I have to say, I always love it that spells out Maine. This program is brought to you in part by the Memorial Foundation for the Blind and the Massachusetts Commission for the Blind. If you would like a hard copy of our program schedule, either in large print or braille, please call 508-797-1117. Archived editions of this program are available on our website, audiojournal.org, or go to the Audio Journal app on your iPhone or iPad. I'm Tina E. Gaffney, and as I always say, explore, connect, create, and inspire. Thank you for listening. What did it say? 5748. I just have to write that down.
Cool.
Okay. Question for you. Do you have a car?
What's up, everyone? I do have a car, yeah.
You doing anything this Sunday?
Sunday. Something? I feel like someone else asked me. Thanks for watching, guys. Gotta go put some steak on it.